Minecraft has a rich history of game modes or minigames which have accumulated great popularity throughout the years, some of which were so popular that they took over YouTube and became the focus of many popular Minecraft YouTubers' content. As time went on, some evolved and became so advanced that they are almost unrecognizable from their original form. Some changed for the better, receiving dozens of updates, whereas some changed for the worse, corrupted by greedy Minecraft server owners who attempted to monetize them in any way possible. Today we're going to go through some of Minecraft's most popular and well-known minigames and game modes of all time, and briefly talk about their history and rise to popularity. Then we're going to look at where they are today, and if they stood the test of time, or changed forever. So let's get right into it. So I decided that for this video we're going to go in rough order of age or time of invention. This means that our first minigame or game mode on this list is SPLEEF, probably the only Minecraft game mode which existed since 2009. Due to its age, the inventors or pioneers of the SPLEEF game mode are slightly disputed, but according to the Minecraft wiki, Green Slimy, Pentaclam and Maurus were the original designers. After locating Maurus's old Minecraft forums account, he states that he only formally invented it though, referencing another player by the name of Video Game Programmer, who was active on an old TIG forum subcategory for Minecraft in 2009. But anyways, the game mode was officially invented on June the 22nd, 2009, only about a month after Minecraft's original creation, and was popularized when Notch himself played it and made a Tumblr post about it. I located some old videos of SPLEEF from 2009 from a user by the name of SidTrickSquids, which shows some of the first ever SPLEEF games being played. Back then, there were no plugins or methods of automatically resetting the SPLEEF arena, so whenever a game finished, all the players had to manually rebuild the floor again. The SPLEEF arenas are also quite small compared to what we see today, and some of them also featured multiple layers. SPLEEF remained a popular game mode throughout Minecraft's earlier years, and it was common to see a multitude of servers, including survival SMPs, having a SPLEEF arena, so players could challenge one another. Eventually, in late 2012, the game mode was picked up by other minigame servers, who decided to innovate with it. Multiple spin-offs such as Spleg, where you shoot eggs into the blocks to destroy them, and even versions with abilities, power-ups and items were created. But even after all this innovation, the game mode couldn't keep up with the changing Minecraft landscape, and many popular servers such as Hypixel and Mineplex don't actually have the original SPLEEF, but rather spin-offs. The game mode really took a hit in popularity after some time, as many players would get bored of it. At its core, SPLEEF was a simple game mode, and unlike many other popular game modes such as Hunger Games, it wasn't really as intense or fun to play, meaning that it dropped off in popularity relatively fast. But nevertheless, there are still servers such as SPLEEF League, which are dedicated to OG SPLEEF, and it's good to see that they carry on its legacy. Now, if you want even more info about SPLEEF, then I made a video a couple months back specifically for it, so go check that out. But moving on now to our next game mode, one of the most recognized or even most popular of all time. One which absolutely dominated YouTube and was the talk of every Minecraft channel for years. But before we do, if you're enjoying the video then consider subscribing. I'm trying to get to 100k by the end of the year, but no pressure though. Alright, so if you hadn't guessed it already, the next game mode or minigame on this list is survival games, or as it is more commonly known these days, Hunger Games. The original survival games map, called SG1, was created by a small build team called Team Varied in early April of 2012. This map was based largely on the actual Hunger Games movie, featuring a small cornucopia, ruins scattered around the map, and loot hidden in trees or other structures. The map was relatively large, roughly about 1000 by 1000 blocks, and the goal of the game was to kill or be killed, where the last player standing wins. The survival games got massive recognition when popular Minecraft YouTubers at the time, such as AntVenom, Captain Sparkles, and Syndicate Project, played a game all together on the 17th of April 2012, which was organized and run by Machinima and IS Cupquake. This was the first time Hunger Games had been broadcast to such a large audience, and as a result, dozens of players wanted to try it for themselves, and servers were set up to run it. One notable server from this time is MCSG, which began in April of 2012 and would host multiple survival games for the public. Back then, there was no lobby or hub to join from. You would have to join directly through a server list on the internet. Eventually, the server evolved into the MC Gamer Network and included other game modes such as UHC and more new Hunger Games maps. However, in 2016, during Minecraft's decrease in popularity, the server shut down due to lack of players. These days, Hunger Games is still seen on almost every big server, but the game mode is no longer the same. These days, Hunger Games is plagued by kits and other in-game items, which make the game unfair and pay to win. Hypixel doesn't even run the original Hunger Games, but rather a spin-off called Blitz Survival Games, which is definitely an acquired taste, and is really lacking the core elements of Hunger Games, featuring only a small map, kits, and other overpowered items. Mineplex's Hunger Games is not too bad, but once again it's plagued by kits and also cheaters. The best server to play OG survival games on is The Hive, which still has many of the older maps and doesn't have any kits or ways to gain in-game advantages, being the last server to keep the original style of survival games alive. The next game mode we're gonna cover today is none other than The Walls. The Walls is a 4-player game mode where a small map is divided into 4 quadrants and each player has to gather resources and get prepared, as after 10 minutes the walls come down and it's a fight to the death. Created by Hypixel, the map was initially released in mid-2012 and gained popularity as it was easy for players to set up and run by themselves without the need for a public server or any plugins. All it required was 4 players and the flick of one lever to play. It also gained popularity as it was released by Hypixel, who was building quite a reputation at the time for fun adventure maps with its release of Herobrine's Mansion and the Wither's Challenge. Considering the Hypixel server also saw decent popularity, it was almost guaranteed to become popular once it was added. Besides that, it was a new and original concept which drew lots of interest. Now, the original game mode with the original Walls map is no longer available on Hypixel or other popular minigame servers, but fortunately Hypixel still have a similar classic version of the Walls which people can play in their classic games lobby. However, this version includes way more than just 4 players and also has weirdly generated custom maps rather than the original. While the original is no longer available, newer versions such as Mega Walls, which were inspired by the original Walls, are still quite popular. But like Hunger Games, Mega Walls is plagued by kits and other in-game purchases which give certain players substantial advantages, and the magic of the original Walls is gone. Moving on now, we have one of the biggest game modes in Minecraft history, UHC or Ultra Hardcore. UHCs follow many formats and the rules and technicalities of the game mode change from server to server, but basically, a large group of players, often upwards of 70 or 80, are placed in a randomly generated 2000 by 2000 block world, where they have a certain period of time, about 10 to 20 minutes, to gear up before PvP is turned on. Like Hunger Games, the last man standing wins. Now, another quirk of UHC is the fact that you don't naturally regenerate health, meaning that if you take damage, the only way to get back that health is through golden apples or potions. This makes the game mode substantially more difficult, especially so for newer players, which is why it normally attracts more seasoned veterans. Anyways, the game mode was actually first invented by some of the members of the Minecraft group, but it was a bit different back in 2012. Instead of trying to kill each other, the first UHC had the goal of killing the Ender Dragon without being able to regenerate health. It wasn't until the Minecrackers' third UHC that we would see a similar format today, with each trying to kill each other to be the last man or team standing. After it gained significant popularity through YouTube, as Minecraft was very popular back then, people began wanting to play it themselves, and a subreddit was set up just for this. On the r/Ultra Hardcore Reddit, games would be organized very often, where dates and times would be given instead of joining through a hub like we have today. Any member of the public was able to join or host the game, and gradually UHCs got more and more popular. Eventually, the game mode was adopted by large servers such as Badline, which used their knowledge and resources to refine the game mode, making it accessible for an even larger audience. These days, however, UHCs are most popular on Hypixel, who once again added kits and other unlockables to it, which many players disliked. Nevertheless, the game mode is still relatively enjoyable, as long as you don't run into cheaters. Bedwars is probably the most popular modern minigame, and actually didn't originate on the Hypixel server. Initially called Rush, the game mode saw popularity in late 2012. Similar to the Bedwars we have today, 2 teams of 4 players would attempt to bridge over to one another team's base and destroy their bed. The original Rush game mode was created by Exuma Void, and back then it was quite simple, only featuring 2 teams and 2 bases, with no other islands or diamond and emerald generators, and only a few items which could be traded with villagers. The game mode would gain popularity when other popular YouTubers such as Antvenom would make videos playing it. But back then it wasn't even on servers yet, and as such, players had to download it and run it off their own computers or private servers, making it relatively inaccessible to the general player base. However, this would change when a German server called Gomme HD came along and added it to their server. Gomme HD innovated on the game mode, adding more items, more islands, and more ways to make the game more advanced with plugins and other cool features. Gomme HD's version is substantially harder than Hypixel's Bedwars, as the islands are much further apart, meaning you have to do more bridging, and also have to be a lot faster at it. However, Gomme HD was primarily a German server, and as such, it wasn't until Hypixel made its own adaptation with its own maps that it really soared in popularity. Hypixel made the game slightly easier for new players, making the islands close together, and adding other structures and islands nearby which contained other loot. They also added a range of new items alongside diamond and emerald generators that made the game stand out a lot more. To this day, it remains one of Hypixel's most popular game modes, which is still updated and enjoyed greatly by the player base. Our final game mode on this list is SKYWARS, a game mode not only popular on Hypixel, but also on a variety of other servers. However, SKYWARS was substantially different back in 2013 when it first rose to popularity. Initially in 2013, it was actually called Skyblock Warriors, based on the original Skyblock map made in 2012. This version, called Skyblock Warriors, was created by Swipeshot Team, and the first iteration of the map was uploaded to Planet Minecraft on March 24th, 2013. Around 4 players would each spawn on a slightly modified Skyblock island, and would have to gather wood and other resources in order to get to different players' islands, or to access small loot chests which were floating around the map. Unlike modern day SkyWars, the loot was not randomized, and all players had the same items in their chests and the same blocks on their islands. Most players would either destroy much of their island for blocks, or would make a cobblestone generator. This version of SkyWars, like the original Bedwars, also did not use any plugins, and as such, players would download and run it with their friends on private servers. And the game mode was initially popularized when YouTubers such as SkyDoesMinecraft made videos playing it. The original creator, Swipeshot, set up a public server which would run games with Skyblock Warriors, and the game mode was eventually picked up and included by other servers including skyblock.net, a server dedicated to Skyblock and Skyblock related game modes. The name of the game mode was eventually changed to SkyWars as it was shorter and easier to remember. Eventually, in order to stand out from other servers began innovating with the game mode, changing map designs, adding other structures, and more loot. Hypixel would do the same thing, and eventually the game mode became very different from the original, including lots of higher tier loot, multiple islands, new weapons such as snowballs and eggs, and more. Hypixel even has a ranked version for those who want to play competitively, and even though the game mode has changed so much, it still remains incredibly popular. So that about wraps it up for today. If I missed any game modes or minigames which you believe should have been on this list, then be sure to leave a comment and let me know. If you enjoyed the video, then consider subscribing and join the Discord. Thank you all so much for watching.